True teachers are self-motivated. Hello, I'm Malcolm Cox and welcome to Tuesday Teaching Tips. Thanks for joining me today for part 2 of a series about Apollos, an amazing character who we first meet in Acts chapter 18. Now, last time we talked about the fact that he was a learned man and what that meant, but today let's have a look at another tremendously attractive characteristic of this man, that he was self-motivated. Let's remind ourselves about him in Acts chapter 18 here, where it says that he's a Jew and he came from Alexandria and he came to Ephesus. He was a learned man with a thorough knowledge of the scriptures. He had been instructed in the way of the Lord, and he spoke with great fervour and taught about Jesus accurately, though he knew only the baptism of John. He began to speak boldly in the synagogue. When Priscilla and Aquila heard him, they invited him to their home, explained to him the way of God more adequately. When Apollos wanted to go to Achaia, the brothers and sisters encouraged him and wrote to the disciples there to welcome him. When he arrived, he was a great help to those who by grace had believed, for he vigorously refuted his Jewish opponents in public debate, proving from the scriptures that Jesus was the Messiah. What an amazing character Apollos is, and how tremendously self-motivated he seems to be. And I think this is a good model for all of us who teach and enjoy teaching and want to teach well. We see great initiative taken by Apollos, 3 particular areas. Firstly, he took initiative to go somewhere new. He went to Ephesus to teach. He went into the synagogue. He took initiative himself. He just wanted to be a great help. He proved to be a great help to people, but he was a great help because he took initiative to go somewhere new. And once there, he went into a synagogue. He went to the right place to proclaim the message, and he spoke boldly there. So he went to a new place, and he went to the right place, and he wanted to go there. It says later that he wanted to go to Achaia. It's not like someone had to tell him. It's not that someone had to persuade him. It's not that he had to be given a program. He wanted to go. Why did he come to Ephesus? We don't have all the details, but he came. Why did he go into the synagogue? Again, we don't know, but he is the one that went there. He took initiative, and there he went. What does this tell us about self-motivation ourselves? Well, 3 things I take from here. The first is this: correction comes in the context of action. Now, he was a learned man. He knew a lot about Jesus, but he had one thing missing, didn't he? That was about the baptism. He only knew the baptism of John. But in the context of him teaching, him going and doing it, Priscilla and Aquila heard him and then were able to correct him. I'm sure my teaching needs some correction. I'm sure yours does too. But it will be best corrected by us going and teaching and then being corrected on what we have taught, so that we can teach better next time. Sitting around waiting or just reading and reading and reading and studying and studying and studying won't correct things. It's when, or won't correct them thoroughly or fully. It's when we put things out there that people say, I appreciate that, but this wasn't quite right, or does that fully make sense? And then we learn. So the first thing is the correction comes in the context of action. And the second is similar to it, which is that direction comes in the context of action. Where to go, where to teach, what platform to use. This comes in the course of action. Sitting around and waiting to be given that direction doesn't seem to work. But with Apollos, we see that he gained better direction and further direction by getting on with actually doing the teaching. He expressed a desire to go to Achaia. He wanted to go to Achaia. He expressed that desire, and then he found that people were willing. It says that they encouraged him. He expressed the desire, he wanted to get on with it, and then they encouraged him and wrote to the disciples there to welcome him, which must have been a rather good thing. And of course, when he gets there, he finds that he is a great help to the people there. So firstly, correction comes in the course of action, and secondly, direction comes in the course of action. He expressed a willingness and then a desire, and then they helped him. If we don't express a desire as to what to teach and when to teach and how to teach and who to teach, then we're not going to get any direction. And the third thing is really, I suppose, the principle that underlies all this for me, which is that you don't need permission to teach. You need conviction. You don't need permission. You need conviction. I don't mean by that we should independently go around doing things without any kind of consultation. But in the end, what really matters is our conviction. If you're waiting for someone to give you permission, you might be waiting for a long time. The point is not to wait for permission. The point is to exercise the conviction you have. And that's what we see here in Apollos. There's no statement here that he was given permission to go to Ephesus or permission to go into the synagogue. He just did it because he had a conviction about Jesus. What a great model that is for us. And many of my friends have shown the same kind of conviction to get on with things. I appreciate my friend Simon Dinning in the congregation in Belfast, who's got on with his project of setting up an apologetics website and podcasts, Prepared to Answer. Do look that up online. Do download the podcasts and listen to them. You'll find them helpful in sharing your faith. Or Rob Payne, who put me onto this idea of Apollos, who's been writing studies on the nature of God to add to the basic study series of helping someone to become a Christian. Those studies are excellent. Or perhaps someone like Toye Oshunbiyi, my other friend in North London, who wrote a booklet on quiet times recently to help people with their quiet times. No one had to make him do it. He got on with it. Or my friend in East London, Andy Izilo, who has been writing papers on healthy church leadership and similar ideas. All of these friends of mine have their own conviction. They're not waiting to be given permission. They're certainly doing it within a community, but they're not waiting for someone to say, come on, get on with it. They are doing it. And so did Apollos. He is our model. A wonderfully self-motivated person who, because of his self-motivation, made a difference. He was a great help to those who believed. Wouldn't that be a great thing to have on our tombstone? We were a great help to those who believed. Well, if we have self-motivation, then that will happen. Well, I hope this has been helpful. Do let me know what you think. I'd like to know what helps you to remain self-motivated, or perhaps what stops you. What gets in the way? What are the barriers to you getting on with teaching? I'd love to know. So leave a comment anywhere you hear or see this recording. Leave it publicly so that we can learn from each other, because we learn best when we learn in community. And if you know someone who might benefit from this recording, please pass it on. Subscribe, hit the like button, the subscribe button. If you're listening to this podcast, then please consider leaving a review. I'd very much appreciate that. And until the next time, I hope that you have a terrific Tuesday and a wonderful week. Take care and God bless.